All right, today we're going to talk about something that a lot of my students ask me, and it's why do some scales use sharps and some scales use flats? So here's the easy answer. So to build any major scale, we need to use this formula, and it's all half steps and whole steps. So a whole step is when we skip a key, like this, or this. A half step's when we don't skip a key, like this. So the formula for any major, and you probably know this from a prior video, we do a root, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So that's a major scale. That's the C major scale. The reason that sometimes we have sharps or sometimes we have flats is because we need to use that formula, and we also need to use every letter A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So in the key of C, we already just played all the notes, so it's very easy to see that none of them are black keys. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I used every single note of the piano alphabet, right? A through G. And then if I choose a different starting note, though, let's choose G and do the same formula, and then we'll talk about why it's a sharp or why it's a flat if there's any black keys. So we got G is the root, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So here's a black key. Clearly, the formula told us to use that black key. And now let's talk about why it's what it is. Well, first I have to name every single letter in order of the alphabet. So G, A, B, C, D, E. This has to be something to do with F because that's the next letter in order. So I have to call it F sharp and G. So one of every letter. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. I can't call this G flat because that wasn't the next one in order. I also can't call it G flat because we're in the scale of G. And if we had G flat, that wouldn't make any sense. We can't have G when it would be replaced with G flat. Let's try starting on F. And this one may have something different. We already had one sharp in the key of G, so let's see the formula for F. Root, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So we had this black key. Now let's figure out what to call it. If we're in order of the alphabet, F, G, A. This has to be something related to B, so I have to call that B flat. I can't call it A sharp because A was already used. So if I go through the alphabet once again, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. And now we'll talk about a simple one, and then we'll talk about a little more complex one. Let's do B next. If I do the formula, root, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. We have every single black key in this one. So if I start on B, the next letter I need to use is C. So this has to be called C sharp. This has to be called D sharp because it's the next in order. This must be called E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. So I used one of every single letter of the alphabet, A through G, except obviously I start on B. And now let's talk about how sometimes a white key can be considered a sharp in the scale of F sharp or G flat, the same scale. It's going to use every black key, and there's going to be an extra sharp. So if I do the formula before we talk anything else, root, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Right? So we had every black key, and these are only two white keys. So I have to go in order of the alphabet. F sharp, if I'm considering that F sharp instead of G flat. F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp. The next one has to be something related to E, but we know it's this note, so this has to be called an E sharp if we're in the key of F sharp. The reason is because obviously we know this note is part of it due to the formula, and the next letter in order has to be E, so it has to be called E sharp in this case, which is any sharp note is just raised one. So E sharp would be one above that, F sharp is one above that. So once again, the F sharp scale, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp. Let's do that same scale, but consider everything a flat. G flat, A flat, B flat. The next letter in order has to be some kind of C, so this must be called C flat in this case. D flat, E flat, F, G flat. So that's why sometimes we use sharps for a scale, and sometimes we use flats. We got to follow the formula, the whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, and we need to use every letter going in order. I can't call this A sharp if I already had an A, and I can't call this D flat if I already had, you know what I mean. So that's why sometimes we use sharps and sometimes we use flats.